Hey, tonight on the Old Time Mini Show, we're going to finish painting our amoeba-men Dralasites, but first, we're going to check to see if our new mold making process worked, or maybe we just have a big mess in here. Hey, welcome if you are watching our stream live here on the Thursday night, and greetings from Brooklyn, New York here on a kind of warmish March evening, kind of warmed up here. Today I was actually out in shorts, I think for the first time this year, I think. I might have more tolerance for colder weather than most people anyway, but nonetheless, it's finally getting warm, which is good for our process here on the Old Time Mini Show. So thanks for joining us, or maybe you're watching the recording later on, which is great too. So like we said last time, we got started with we're going through a process of making copies of the 1980s Star Frontiers science fiction game miniatures, and so I have some. As you may know, I have some of our amoeba-men Dralasites that we cast a week or two ago, and I've got kind of partly painted there. But last week we started in on making molds for the space monkey men, the Yazirians, which is a little bit more complicated. So I'm kind of working my way up in the detail level here, and I'm using these kind of Lego knockoffs for the mold box when I made part one of the two-part mold. And the new thing last week was, previously with the Dralasites, I was lining this mold box with saran wrap to make sure the rubber didn't leak out, which is usually an issue for mold boxes. And I didn't like the fact that it came out all wrinkly on the edges, and I know I should ignore that, but I can't. So I tried it without the liner, and there's a question about whether I might not have rubber just leaking out into the edges of my mold box horribly. So we're going to crack this open here in a minute and see whether or not my experiment worked there. And backways, thank you so much for checking on the channels, making sure that I got things running properly. I really appreciate it. Always a huge help. Here's my before I make part two of the mold, obviously, here's my rubber mixing cup that I need to clean up. Everything's in the exact same state. If you were with us last week, everything's in the exact same state. It doesn't seem like a week has gone by. For me, it seems like we just did this like 2 days ago. I don't know about you. Okay, so there's that. So we'll be mixing more rubber here in a couple minutes. Hope you guys are having a good week. Now, standard safety notes as I start the stream here. So a couple things I'm going to be careful about while we work here with old school miniatures. The miniatures are, both the originals and the ones that I'm making, are mostly lead. They're a little bit more than half lead for the material. So I'm going to be careful with that. I'm going to wash my hands after I get done with the stream here kind of carefully. Make sure I don't get it near any food products or food service around the house here. And the silicone rubber that we're using and the release agent and the primer, they all have vapors coming off it, so you want to use that in all that stuff in a well ventilated space. If you have a professionally ventilated workroom, that would be best. I'm working in my home studio here. I have the windows open quite a bit, even though it's March in New York. I have an air quality monitor on my desk here that I'm going to keep an eye on. Everything looks pretty good. Actually, I'm usually good here at the moment. So it's nice that it is warming up a little bit. Prior weeks, we've been having wintry weather, and I still had to have my windows cracked open. So it's getting a little bit more pleasant. And probably in about 1 or 2 weeks here in New York, it's going to be too hot. And I don't know what I'm going to do when it gets too hot, actually, but We'll see as we go forward. There might be a point where we get towards the summer where I might just have to call it because I can't have the windows open, possibly. When I first moved to New York, I moved to New York from New England. Originally grew up in Maine in I believe a September, right? And I have never been so hot in my life. Like through early to mid-September that year that I moved here, I was like, I don't understand how anybody can live in a climate this hot. Clearly, I can't possibly ever live any place further south than New York City. I can barely live here. And of course, I think most people's experience, if they come as tourists, right, they're coming from, you know, someplace to the west, someplace to the south, probably, and most people's experience with New York is that it's very cold. And for me, this is as hot as I can possibly stand it. Anyway, let's crack this open here tonight. See how our mold made work last time. So I bet that I got away with this, right? Again, the fact that there's so little mass of rubber here means there isn't a whole lot of weight on top of it. And the bottom half, since it's a two-part mold, the bottom half is all covered up with the modeling dough that I use for that. So I think if you were making just a one-part mold, you'd have a much bigger problem with it leaking right out of the bottom. But the bottom's all covered up anyway, so I bet I got away with this, but let's see. So first time for everything. I have some other ideas about things that I might do for the mold boxes in the future. Okay, or I've entirely sealed this up. Or there's a small possibility that the rubber leaked into the bricks and just glued them all together. And hope you enjoyed that episode, everybody. Good night. Oh, jeez. Okay. Oh, God. Okay. No. All right. No. Okay. All right. Okay. So it's a little. Okay. So it's a little sticky. Okay. It's a. Okay. It's a little. It's a little sticky, but no, actually. So just looking inside my bricks, I'm not getting. See, I got a little bit on the edge, but I'm actually not getting a huge flood inside my construction bricks. Oh yeah, right. If I'd had any more trouble, I could run a knife around the inside. That's good. That's gonna be Plan B. That worked. I think that worked. Yeah. Okay, because the bottom. Okay, I guess these bricks here are about half in the rubber. Yeah. Okay. So, but like that. So I got a little seam there where the top of this layer of bricks is. That's okay. I don't mind. That certainly looks a lot cleaner than the prior mold we made for the Dralasites. So I think I like this. Yeah. See that? And that orange bit is the modeling dough that I used down there. The knife tactic is looking better all the time. I suppose it would also carve off this little bit of rubber flashy stuff. Okay. Yeah. Huh? The dough's stuck on the bricks on the bottom. Interesting. So obviously, there's some part of my brain that initially was like, I'm not going to like this, but it's like the modeling dough doesn't, that just gets removed, so it's no problem. The rubber never actually hits the bottom of the mold. So that's not bad. I think that looks better. Not perfect, I guess. Kind of didn't expect that, but anyway, so it didn't completely leak out. I didn't really lose any rubber, so I think I like that. It's one less thing to worry about with the liner, so I think I'm going to probably do that in the future. Cool. I like that. So now I'm remembering the part of this process that isn't so great is the fact that I got to peel off all the modeling dough. And there's my new pour hole that we made last time, right? And the rubber always kind of halfway gets around the edge of it. This is actually better than normal, so I actually think that this process is actually kind of helping me out in that regards. Anyway, so now I gotta just flip the whole thing over and rebuild my mold box. Now, can I just dig out? Maybe it's easier if I just dig out the modeling dough right now, I guess, rather than have it in the box. So I want to be careful to not jostle the miniature that's halfway in the rubber here. So I guess I'm going to try to carefully just undo this right now. Maybe I can get most of it in one big mass. Okay, now unfortunately my pour hole came out with that chunk of dough, so I'm kind of putting it back in there. I think that's where it went. Kind of have to pretend like I'm an archaeologist and be really gentle with this. Shifting the camera down. So there's my pour hole is going to be kind of floating around there, but you can see our Yazirian monkey man in there securely. Digging the dough out is probably the least intriguing part of this. But that's what we queued up for with this overall process. I'm actually going to start this Star Frontiers campaign with my local players in just a couple of weeks. So hopefully I can at least get these guys finished before we start. And then I gotta queue up for the Vrusk insect people that come in 2-part miniatures. There's a whole different, with a bunch of spindly, spidery legs, which is a whole different ball of wax. Maybe I put the pour hole down too far, and that's why it's sticking up out of the rubber. Oh God. So William's asking, when are we going to get the Star Frontiers Delta House rules? Be careful what you ask for, sir. Okay, viewers, William, right, is really great for jostling me to get in action, right, to get my butt going. And there's a lot of things on the channel that are, frankly, exist thanks to William either reminding me or putting a burr up my ass. that should get executed on. So if Delta's Star Frontiers house rules ever do get released, you can mostly thank William. You know, I actually, William, if you look on my blog, I actually do think I have the Nighthawk Nighthawk spaceship house rules. I actually do think I have my blog there from some years ago. Your faith in your friends is your weakness. But the role-playing rules, that's... I actually was tweaking, like, falling damage and starvation, stuff like that, of course. Which I feel was easier to dial in properly than D&D. Oddly enough. Okay, get way in now. So unfortunately, I gotta get this pretty clean up to the miniature in order to have a good form from the second part of the mold. So I gotta be pretty careful about this without jostling where the miniature is sitting in the first part of the mold. Might. And of course, all this nice detail, all these like little ridges of the face and the clothes and the wing membranes make all these little divots to pick up and get the Play-Doh stuck in. Mass out of here. Hopefully I don't have some kind of malformed thing between the legs like I did with the Drallasite. Get some kind of brush here. Yeah, hey Laura, this is the Azerian. I think it's looking pretty good. I think it's so far so good. We generally don't know until I try the cast, but I don't see any problems with this, even though I didn't have a liner here. I think that Knickknack95, thanks for asking. I think my Dralasites are doing pretty good. I have them off to the side here, so when I get done with this, I'll pull them on and I'll hopefully finish painting them tonight, actually. There's not too many things to do about it, so even with my rudimentary painting skills, I think I might be able to do that. I definitely, Joe, you're right. It is like, I really feel like there's this archaeology element here, which I don't mind. In movies, you always see the grad students bent over with a brush like this. And it's exactly, I'm like, I see why they have to do that. this process would be pretty slick if there was some way I could make this more automatic. But it wouldn't be the old time mini show if we were doing things easy. It really wouldn't be any of my shows. Yeah, the clay really got into this. Yeah, Nick, I am planning another season of Book of War at some point, and I was just the last day or two I was doing some research of stuff to add to it for when we come back. And frankly, it's not, the next couple things are not easy, frankly. So I want to make sure they're, you know, entertaining. But that's always the principal white whale, frankly, for me. The clay is not water soluble, I don't think. I'm pretty sure. I guess I could try that. Did I try some rubbing alcohol last time? Is that what I tried? Yeah, thanks for asking about that, Knickknack95. Okay, now, Knickknack95's handle is reminding me, so, and this was just an hour ago, is I'm watching a program on Hulu for what it's worth, right? And I go to an ad break, and I mute all the ads normally, and then halfway into it, I do a double take and unmute it because they're running an ad for X-Men 97, right? The animated X-Men show, I think that was on Fox, 97. And when I turn it on, they go, "We've got X-Men 97 on Disney Plus with new episodes." We've made 10 new episodes of the X-Men 97 animated show. And I just lost it. I started like just cackling maniacally here on my all alone, because that seemed like the most random thing to bring back, and I love it. I love it to death that they're doing that. So I immediately jumped over to Disney and put that on my watch list. I guess the new episodes get released next week, I guess. That seems just totally amazing to me. That's one of those things where we're like, we're like, just for 5 minutes, I'm really happy to be alive. Like, wow, I never would have guessed that. Oh, my poor hole fell out. Let me try. I'm going to keep this in here the same way. Okay, well, you're out now, so you'll sit on the side for a little while. Interesting. Good luck finding the series DVD for a reasonable price. Well, that's interesting. You know, I did watch the X-Men 97 series, and it's not even my favorite X-Men cartoon, frankly. You know, the animation is not I don't think anybody's going to argue the animation's super great. You know, I totally at the time, if you were interested in, you know, Marvel media, there wasn't much to go on, so it seemed, you know, pretty amazing to have anything on TV at the time. Where should I put the water? So, I will confess that, like, I did think that X-Men Evolution was probably better done, I guess. And the funny thing is, you know, when X-Men Evolution came on, you know, they retool the characters so they're all in high school. And I tend not to like these reskinning reinterpretations in different places and things. I tend not to like that, but X-Men Evolution was, to me, inarguably just well done and really interesting animation, and I really couldn't say no to it. And then after that they had the Wolverine and the X-Men. Because I guess even earlier, right, there was a Kitty Pryde in the X-Men, I guess super early. But then there was Wolverine in the X-Men, and to my mind, that was the best X-Men cartoon ever made. But it was very adult, and it was very dark, and I think that, to my mind, like Wolverine and the X-Men was one of those things that was too good for TV. You know what? This water actually is getting some of this stuff off. Thank you. That was a good idea. Look at that. So the Wolverine and the X-Men had one season, and it ended on a cliffhanger, and then it never came back, and that was very disappointing. Oh, this actually works. But yeah, if they brought back one of the things from the 60s, like the Spider-Man 1967, that would be mind-blowing. That would be crazy. Jonathan, I'm not. Well put. Okay, now the theme song did rock. You're not wrong. Some of the animation in Evolution was just heartbreakingly gorgeous. Okay, you know what? I'm pretty happy with this, I think. Funny, the base on the bottom, I don't know if you can see that, has like a copyright stamp. It says TSR 1983 on the bottom, and part of me kind of wants to get that perfectly cast, but I don't think I can get that little teeny tiny little detail. On the Dralasites, it's kind of mangled. When I cast it. So am I violating copyright, I guess? I don't know. I'm going to declare fair trade. Is that the term? Fair trade? I'm pretty sure. I think I know the law, and I think that I'm pretty secure. He said. Now remember, part of the reason I'm doing this live streaming is because when I cast in the kitchen, like if I throw molten metal on myself, I'm relying on you guys to call 911. And also, if I get arrested, I might need one of you guys to bail me out. So, just so you know. Like, I don't know, if I get swatted or something. I really shouldn't give any. That got dark. Just yeah, right. I'm gonna dox myself. Wasn't that Fantastic Four cartoon weird that they didn't have the Human Torch? That's one of the weirdest things. It's Fantastic Four, and there's 3 of us. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that fact. With that. There was some giant of animation who did pass away in the last week. Who am I thinking of? Or some video game designer. Sadly. Anytime we have a conversation about like things that were allowed or not allowed in kids' cartoon, there you go, Toriyama. Yep. Will be missed. Thank you. Anytime we have a conversation about things in kids' cartoons, I always think about the D&D cartoon, which I watched. But I learned later that they had a whole cadre of advisors, and what Eric, right, the Cavalier, who was cowardly and a jerk and annoying, right, and was basically almost always the butt of the jokes and had bad ideas and would run from fearful things, was intentional, because the theory at the time was you couldn't have independent thought, that you had to be a team players were so important, right, that you had to, and this is so bizarre to like even say out loud, that you had to go along with the group thought, that was a good thing. And therefore Eric was the example of someone doing their own thing and just always experiencing failures as a result. So always having bad ideas and always running off on their own and being cowardly and a failure, right? And I mean, like, that seems just like madness, like don't ever do your own thing. Seems like the craziest thing to communicate in a kids show I can possibly imagine. I had that Brazilian car advertisement that was basically the D&D cartoon. Yeah, that was crazy. And I did enjoy that those characters showed up sort of as cameos in the D&D movie last year. I enjoyed that. And of course, I saw the movie with Isabelle, and she had no idea what that was. So it was one of those things whereby little Easter egg for people to know. All right, I think I'm pretty happy with this cleanup job. That seems to be coming out pretty well. That's pretty good. So let me get my pour hole back in, and then I'll box this back up. I can see how this was aligned. How were you aligned? Like this? That seems it. That was it. That's it. There you go. Right, the whole thing didn't make sense. Right, having the Cavalier, it's the whole thing didn't make sense. Like the whole, like he's got a shield. He should be the defender. He's Cavaliers or paladins have high charisma. They're supposed to be. The whole thing was that part of it was incoherent and painful to watch. What do I know? Okay. Pretty good cleanup job. In some ways, I think I get that better than I did the Dralasites. Okay, so note to self, in however many weeks, use the water and the Q-tip strategy. That actually did help. Good thought on that one. Well, that's always you and I have talked about this, Jonathan. So, I mean, the priestly magic is always going to be a content issue, that people are going to be worried about. And for example, I don't know if I should bring this up, right? So this spring, there's an off-Broadway show opening here in New York called the 20-Sided Tavern, which is a D&D branded live improvisational show on basically a Broadway stage. And you've got a DM on stage. You have 3 players, 3 actors as players, and they are portraying a fighter and a thief and a wizard. And guess what? No cleric. No cleric on stage in that show. So I once again, I feel like, don't need. I agree with that. All right, let me box this Yazirian back up. Yeah, you can see, right, you can see the 1983 TSR. Yeah, I kind of want, in my heart, I kind of want to get that on the cast, but that level of details might be beyond what I can do. But that's it. Okay. Here. Here. Yeah, we can always go back to Lieber. We can go back to the first Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser story where they're going through the dungeon, and the holy priest of He Above All or whatever comes in and says, "My divine magics will protect me. I fear nothing." And then literally the next paragraph he gets squashed like a grape. I think that's the appropriate legacy. Ha Should I, what was it? So, am I supposed to say, I don't know, should I say this? I saw a casting call for someone doing an indie film based on the Satanic Panic the other day. They needed an angry, mean father in the show, so I was like, I could do that. I'm willing to do that. I think that's up my alley. Great. Okay. So there is Mr. Yazirian. We didn't come up with a name for him. Remember, Yazirian, I think language has a lot of like Rory-Grory stuff in it. Like howly-growly stuff. I guess that's what I said. A lot of howly-growly stuff. Maybe we should have a name for him. Got the registers in there. Part of the reason why I think I forget about the register tabby things is I only need to put them in one half. So half the time when I'm pouring rubber, that's not an issue. And then I come, the next time I pour rubber again, see, I'm not going to do that today because they're already there. But next time I pour rubber, I'm going to forget because my whole process this time didn't include that. Yeah, thank you. Laura Sudo, you're really warming my heart that I can carry off puritanical rage. I think this wanted like cold, emotionless unavailability. I think is what they wanted. I'm like, I'm happy to provide that. Fortunately, I do have the Post-it note. You're right. Hopefully that'll help next time, because I almost forgot again last week. Thanks to William for reminding me. Okay, so next step is I'm going to put the release agent on here. And as usual, I'm going to, this is the foulest stuff in this whole process. So I'm going to step over to my window and open it up and lean out. And if I don't come back, that would be an appropriate time to call 911 and say that I fell out the window. I self-defenestrated. I'll just channel my forefathers. Okay, be right back in all probability. Talk among yourselves. So, did that okay. Almost tripped coming back in. so much danger. Too many photos here. Don't raid the fridge. We need that. We need that stuff. Yeah, right. You saw it. So, for what it's worth, 20 Side Tavern has a YouTube channel. They've had runs earlier in New York and Philadelphia and Chicago. They were in Chicago for a while. If you look real closely, you'll find that they have a audience reaction video, which prominently features someone that you may have seen on the Wandering DMs channel. Maybe. It's not me. Okay. So now we're going to mix up... damn it, that's not the right thing. Why am I grabbing this all the time? Put this over there because I keep grabbing that bottle of water. All right, Nazirian mold part 2. So, grab our 2-part mold as usual, and mix it up, and put it in a 1-to-1 ratio. Making that harder to stirring implements. Those are stirring implements. Okay, so here's the pink stuff, which is kind of a pain to stir. But you got to do it. God, that stuff is really thick. So I got a better pour on this last time. So again, the thing is, this is so thick, it tends to pile up in the center. So I got to look as I try to get 1/3 of one of these units in here. I got to kind of look in top and make sure I'm not putting too much here in the bottle. Yeah, don't actually. Yeah, I feel like my brain does. I don't want that idea about how delicious this looks in my brain. Because I need more than that. Okay, that might have been too much. That was way too much. Okay, I badly overcorrected right there. Oh, should I pour it? I mean, do I dare pour it back in, or is that going to contaminate the bottle? That's so much. I'm going to try this. That's okay. Not going to do that. It's so thick, it's going to just make things worse. Oh well. I got it all over the bottle too. Like last week I did well, and this week I did really poorly with that. Cats. I'm gonna have more outside the mold than inside. Ugh. Yeah, good call, William. I agree. You are right, of course. Okay, so stirring up the blue stuff, which is much easier. And unfortunately, I have to pour in an equivalent amount. Okay, now I might have a clever idea here as I pour in. So I got like almost. I'm trying to get a third of a unit, and I almost got a whole unit in there, which was not great. So maybe, okay, so I have no option. I have to pour in an equivalent amount of this to get the 1-to-1 ratio. So it's going to be a little under the 2 by the time I'm done. Significantly more rubber than I was using before. Okay, so I'm having as I deal with this unexpectedly large amount of rubber, I'm having a clever, dangerous idea here. And you know what, this stuff is like, beginner friendly. Honestly, I haven't ever, if I mix it poorly, I've never had a bad, result, frankly. It's pretty close to foolproof. Oh, jeez. My hand's sore. Okay, so I think we're in position to pour this on Mr. Yazirian, part 2. Do I have something? What is that dark spot? Is that what is this? Is that on my camera or is that on my monitor? Oh man, I think I got something on the camera lens. Right? Yeah, that's oh shit. Okay. Sorry, I think there's a thing on my camera lens and I apologize for that. Anyway. We'll try to deal with that later. Did I splash rubber on that? Man, so many things. Okay, so anyway, so pouring on Mr. Yazirian here, and hopefully I get kind of smooth coverage. Hopefully. Put him to bed. Again, I like being able to get away without the liner in there. And I have about as much rubber still left in the cup as I put in here. Tap this a little bit in case there's any air trap down there up against the miniature. Not entirely sure whether this really helps anything, but I usually do it. Okay. So, call that good enough. So there's the Azerian mold part 2, and we'll let that bake, so to speak, for, again, you know, it needs to be at least 6 hours. I'm going to leave it for a whole week, so we'll crack it open in a week. I'll be back in the kitchen next Thursday. We'll crack it open, see how well it worked. We'll try to throw some metal in there and cast it, and hopefully get a couple new Azerians out of that. And that's how that works. But I have all this rubber left over by accident. So here's what I'm thinking. I might take, because I got a mold for my Dralasites. I got a mold for my monkey Azerians. And the next thing is I need some Vrusk miniatures. And we all love the insectoid Vrusk. And you've got the 1983 miniatures, which are big and come in 2 parts. And you also have the 1984 miniatures that they made smaller and just in 1 part. So how about this? I try to do a speed run here where I make one of the single part Vrusk miniatures before the rubber cures. And supposedly you're supposed to have that rubber is supposed to be usable for 30 minutes. So let's see if I can make half of a mold for a Vrusk miniature right now and see if I can do that within 30 minutes while the rubber's still available. I've never tried this before, but I'm going to do it right now. And I don't know if I have material for all this stuff, but let's go for it. Okay, now one thing I've been thinking about is that I have this base stuff here, right? This Lego-y base stuff that I put this on, and that's the end of it. I don't have any more than that. So what am I going to do for the base? I'm going to cut off a piece of cardboard and tape it down, right? And then stick the modeling dough in it, and that's going to stick it down there. I think that might be enough. I'm going to start moving a little bit more quickly than I normally do here. Okay, so looking for. So I'm digging into the 1984 box set with the Dave Trampier art on it. And there's going to be 2 Vrusks in here. This and this. Okay, so I'm going to go with this one because it's simpler, right? So it has both arms on the rifle. This one has one arm forward and the grenade in a different direction. So I'm gonna go with this. Right, it's a little bit smaller. I think it's okay if I think I get bubbles on top sometime. I think it's all right. I think. And let me just run out of the room for a second. Grab some cardboard to cut up. So speaking of improv, I'm improvising this whole process right now. Let's see if I can succeed at this. Okay, so I want this about the same size, so it's like 2.5 in each direction of bricks. I might need more Legos. I must admit. Is that right? Right. And this, and then that'll cut it. I think I got enough of the big bricks, but it's that base tray on the bottom that I frankly I remember being as a kid. I was always frustrated by not having enough of that. Okay, so I got 30 minutes, and it's currently just about 10. About 10 p.m. daylight saving time here in New York on a Thursday in March. Now, at some future point, I want to come back and I certainly want to make the two-part Vrus model, but I'm going to do an initial run with this guy. Okay, so there's that. So now the base I'm going to cut to kind of match how big this is. This, this. Oh, you're watching at 2 a.m. Oh, thanks for tuning in. Okay, I was wondering. Okay, so Jonathan, I was wondering when someone was going to point that out. Why do I have a Greek newspaper? Because I went out today for like a normal. I wanted to find a normal black and white newspaper that wasn't so distracting on the stream, and I left, or I said, do they make newspapers anymore? Because I wasn't sure. And we were both like, I think so, right? We've seen those recently. Yes, I think. And I had to go to 3 different corner stores here in my neighborhood. Right? Store number 1, nothing. Store number 2, nothing. Store number 3, I mean, I know that I've seen it there before. Like I have this memory of like it being right by the door, and I'm like, I mean, people. I guess older guys, I think, still do that. They go in, they get the copy, they get the morning newspaper, I think. And I had to hunt through the store, like go around a corner, all the way on the floor, like on a shelf, like right on the floor, and this was all they had. This one Greek newspaper, that was all, the only thing I could find in my neighborhood for a black and white newspaper in 2024. And part of me is not super surprised. I mean, clearly that's the way things are going. And that's why it's all Greek to you. How should I align this? Okay, so I guess like this is probably fine. So I'm gonna align it just like this. I'm gonna put the porthole on the head. The fact that the rifle is horizontal, I think, is fine. Right? If it was upwards, that's a problem. But horizontal, I think, is perfectly fine. So I think that's probably okay. Now, I'm debating whether I should just use my old bad porthole malt, or I should make a new good one. Oh man, I'm making a huge mess here. Right? Yeah, right? And I mean, like, I don't know, I'm partly embarrassed to go buy a newspaper just for this. Obviously, the economics are I'm supposed to be reading the advertisements, and I literally can't. So that's yet another vote against it, I guess. And Knickknack95, I totally feel the erratic sleep patterns, man. I'm doing okay these days, but man, historically, as folks that know me well, no, my sleep patterns are historically just a random number generator. And you know, it makes it hard to schedule stuff, honestly. It makes it hard to plan stuff with people because I just can't predict most of the time when I'm going to be sleeping. That might be too deep. Right. I mean, if I'm not doing this on camera, I apologize. I'm trying to get this new high-quality porthole constructed quickly. Not too big on the end. So the bigger on the end, the more flashing I got to deal with. Is that about right? Okay, and then put it kind of on the side to match the elongated Rusk miniature. All right, let's say that's a thing. So put this about here. Put this down here. Yeah, that end bit is too thick. That. All right, that might be the best balance I'm going to get there. Sink that in. Put the Rusk in there. Over there. I didn't screw it up. Yeah, that's a thing, right? I think I got about that. I think I got that about halfway down. Okay, and then release agent. Where are you? Shaky, shaky, shaky. Jostle the camera when I get up there, maybe. Okay, all right, and I got the pre-made rubber here, right? Hopefully it's still viscous. It's getting harder, but I think I can do this. It's coming out very slowly. Glooped it all over the side. God, why do I keep... I guess I'm doing this a little bit frantically I'm taking a dexterity penalty here. So I wouldn't want to use this with any more delay, I guess. This is not coming out super conveniently. Which is the mixer. I'm going to scoop some more down here. All right, okay. Huh? Sort of a thing. And of course, you know, even with this amount, I think is considered a smaller amount of the product compared to what I think the expected usage is. So the fact that you know, small amount means relatively more surface area, means it might dry out faster than they expect a larger quantity would. So this is starting to get kind of gluey. You can probably see it's kind of piled up there, and it's not entirely going down right now. So this may or may not actually work, but I think it was worth a shot. Put this all over my hands now. Okay. So how long did that take me? Like about 15 minutes, I think. So if you get a little practice with the silicone rubber, you can do it pretty efficiently. Yeah. Thanks for the inspiration point, Knickknack95. I definitely needed it right there. Man, I made more of a mess out of that one. Okay, all right. Let me just clean up a little bit here. So I got clay. Where should you go? So I'm happy about that. So I think I might have gotten away with that actually. So I got to use the unexpectedly large amount of rubber I threw out. I kind of like that. I had enough bricks for it. I'm gonna have to clean that up. I got rubber all over that. I made a gargantuan mess on my pink bottle there. That was incredibly inelegant. We will try to do better next time. Of course, if you mix it all up, right, it rubberizes, and then you saw me at the start. You can easily peel it off without a problem. But one part alone doesn't do that. It stays sticky, nasty for like an arbitrary amount of time. Pretty much. Okay, back in the box with you. All right. Okay, so there's way more mold making than I expected to do tonight. You got two for the price of one there. Oh shit! Shit. Oh, God. I forget that all the time. What did I... So Jonathan, I call them I call them the tabs or the notches, and Isabelle calls them the register, and I didn't know what you meant by the standoffs. Good try. Isn't that crazy how I forget that like every time? Yeah, I guess I will have to drill them out next time. Yeah, so and the crazy thing is, Jonathan just said I have a Post-it note, and it didn't do me any good, right? The fact that, so on the first part of the mold, on the clay, I got to drill holes in them so that the rubber makes the tab. Now we have 5 words. Tabs are notches, or registers or standoffs to plug into the other side to have it in the right place when you put it back together. And it's just over and over and over again. I always forget that. And sure enough, we were just saying it. We just all said it, and then I do this rush job, and then I forget. So hopefully I can fix that next time. What is my damage with that? That's crazy. Yeah, I guess drill it out. I don't even know what I'm going to use for the drilling. Ludicrous. Okay, so let's find some way of putting this to the side. That is crazy. Okay, so we wanted to do that, and the other thing I wanted to do here is I was kind of hoping that I could finish painting my Dralasites, the amoeba-men. I shouldn't even call them men, frankly, because the Dralasites are canonically non-binary. Sometimes they're male, and sometimes they're female, and sometimes they're both, and sometimes they're neither. And any of them can go through a fertility cycle and possibly bud off other Dralasites. So I should. So now I don't know what to call them. They're Dralasites. They're their own thing. So anyway, I felt like painting them should be pretty possible because they're so simple. So let me pull my literally budding Dralisite army back on screen. So I'm working on these 3 here, which I think is enough for me to challenge myself with. So last time we painted them gray like they're kind of supposed to be, and if you're a member of the Wandering Dam Discord server, we have a miniatures channel, and William in particular and some other people are doing much more sophisticated painting techniques. William did do a trial trying to get something to look translucent with multiple different layers and stuff like that, and did a really good job. I am not going to try to do that right here. So, not this box, the other box. I'm just taking a look at the back of the box that came in, right, how they suggested that they be painted here. So there they are, kind of gray like that. Has, in this case, a brown bandolier, and that laser pistol on the left side is kind of silvery. Got black eyes, right? I'm definitely going to do that. So I want to give him the black dead eyes. And I think that I'm going to do something just a little bit more colorful with the bandolier. Like I'm going to make them red and green and blue to kind of distinguish them. Now the back side, it's not in the picture. Actually, let me pull up the original here. That's not you, it's you. Okay, so here's the original box set. And so obviously the front side just has that detail. The back side on the bandolier, they have a couple of implements here, right? They have 2 things strapped on the bandolier, and I feel like, so I'm kind of wondering what should I paint those. So I feel like the bottom thing feels to me like a pouch, like I might make that kind of a brown leathery thing, and the other thing feels like it might be some kind of technical radio or some kind of device. So I'm thinking I might make that silvery with a red light maybe on it. I don't know if you guys have other suggestions about that, but that's kind of the way I feel like I'm going with that. I mean, they could both be some kind of like metal devices, I suppose. I don't know. I suppose if I make a red bandolier, I guess I could paint the pouch thing red and kind of have it stand out a little bit more. Might be better. You think it's a kazoo? Remember, kids, you're not supposed to blow in the kazoo. You're supposed to just hum into it. Don't blow in a kazoo. That's for beginners. So I think I'm going to try that. Okay. And I also I was thinking like maybe the pistol should be like a bright color to kind of set it off, but I don't know. I think I'm gonna make that silvery is what I'm gonna do. Let's try that. All right, painting supplies. You got this. Here's my old school palette. The freehand tattoos. I mean, that's a nice thought. I don't know if I have it. I don't know if I have it in me. Okay, there's my brushes that I got. My new brushes that I got recently to replace my old cruddy ones. So the eyes need to be really small. So I'm going to get a really teeny tiny little brush for this. And obviously, I'm just going to dab their eye holes with black. You'll get up there. That is it. That is the smallest brush that I have. All right, get some water in you. And grabbing my Vallejo paint set here, right, which I got recently. So like last time, I didn't even know how to use these bottles, right? I actually haven't used paint set like this. So last time I was like, how do I get on the bottles? Do I need to poke a hole in them? And afterwards, Paul checked in, and I was like, one of these is like coming out thick, and one of these is coming out thin. And so afterwards, Paul checked in, who knows a lot more about painting than I do, and was like, okay, you gotta shake up the bottles to get the material all mixed up, which I was overlooking. So now I'm doing that. And the second thing that Paul said, is it a clever thing to do? I guess some people put a little chunk of metal in the bottle to use as an agitator. So what I could do is I could take some flashing from when I do my casting, like a teeny little bit, throw it in the bottle and have an agitator in here so it gets mixed up better. And I haven't done that yet. Let me actually look at, so here's my bin of used metal pieces. And I don't think I have anything small enough to use for that. So, yeah. So I mostly come out with these flat gray ooze blobby chunks, which is actually bigger than the bottle itself. So in the future, I'll be looking for, if I get like a little piece, if I'm doing some shaving or a little pull piece off, I might do that and try Paul's technique of throw that into the bottle as an agitator. So I needed that. That I was not going to come up with on my own. So that I needed for advice. All right, just a teeny tiny little bit here for the 6 eyes that I've got going at the moment. That is probably all I need. Can Dan make 6 dots? Also, my hand's in all this rubber. Not super great, actually. Oh, I made this guy sad. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. That's all right. Well, okay. So that is not in focus, is it? Okay. I did not mean to make this guy sad. Okay, I'm gonna try to do better. So I think it has better defined eye holes. Okay, I think that's more what I wanted. There we go. All right. Just making some dots. Got those kind of large, but it's okay. All right, so now they can see. That's good. What should I do next? I feel like I better do the bandolier next, because other stuff's on top of it, I think. Makes sense. I think I'm good with that. Oh, you know what? So this guy here, either I rubbed off the gray there, or I had my finger on it in the first place. So I wonder if I could mix up a little bit of that color here and fix that. Probably unlikely, but I'm going to try. I totally am thinking the same thing, Jonathan. They also look like the God, what were they called? I want to say the Shmoo, but that was a different program. What were they called on the Herculoids? This tone here. I think I'm getting it too dark. That's close-ish. It's not perfect. Not perfect. I guess I'm gonna stop before I do more damage down there. Trying to match that was gonna be a challenge. What is that? Let's get that way zoomed in. Just Gloop and Gleep? Did they have a species name? Probably not. Probably didn't have taxonomical references on the Herculoids, probably. That they should make a remake of, right? Have they done that? Have they done a remake of the Herculoids? Live action, right? CGI monsters, CGI Gleep and Gloop. All right, so I want an RGB combination. So I've got Most of the stuff in this paint set is like fantasy biology stuff. So I've got blood red. I have dark green and goblin green. I guess I'm going to go with dark green. Right, and the blue's out currently. The blue, which is ultramarine for all your 40K needs. I just need a very small amount here. And I think I don't want my brush completely dripping with paint, so I'm going to dry it off a little bit here. You guys probably know better than I do the best way to do that. All right, here goes nothing. Wow, I'm not doing great there. I feel like I'm getting it everywhere but the bandolier. Tonight on Dan Screws Up His Painting His Miniatures. Okay, so I guess I do need this pretty wet to get coverage. These acrylics. Not the worst. I guess I've done worse than that. There was a remake of the Herculoids in the 80s? Weird. Yeah, alright, okay. You know. That's a thing. You know, okay. I'm gonna paint this. I'm gonna paint what I'm reading as this pouch, this lower thing. I'm gonna paint that the same color, just to kind of get a little bit more emphasis on that color there, and we'll see if I am happy with that or redo it later. Oh, there's a spot of rubber right where my left hand wants to go. Keep sticking it in there over and over again. Gross. All right, so how about that? It's a thing. There are no mistakes, only happy little accidents. I feel like, I don't know, the Dan's accidents are not so happy. They're dreadful tragedies. Sometimes. All right, that's, I like that. Oh, stylish little belt for my Drallasite there. Okay, so there's Mr. Blue. Mr. Green. Like, I'm not going to accidentally get a tree here, so I think Mr. Ross had a better recovery plan. The anti-Ross. On a weekly basis, I tell our viewers, like, well, you know, it ultimately is a horror story all the time, no matter what you do. That does feel like the opposite, right? Neat. That's a nice green color, actually. I like that a lot. Speaking of trees, that's like perfect tree color. Okay, you know, when he whacking the brush was an enjoyable part of that show. Like, oh, everything's happy and nice, and then ultra violent just for a second. Better coverage than that. This belt is hard to paint. I'm trying to get it on this raised surface, but it inevitably wants to run down either side. So mostly just trying to make an illusion that I colored the belt. About the best I can hope for. Happy little bandolier here, and a happy little laser pistol, and a happy little fragmentation grenade. And just a generally happy band of mercenaries. Out for their happy blood money. I think this would be a little darker would be nice. Yeah, that's better. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good idea. You know, I never think about that, Jonathan. I never think about... Paul managed to find some music for his miniature painting shows, and I didn't set that up. Okay, so there's Mr. Green. Mr. Red now. I wish that rubber spot wasn't right there. Did the Bob Ross show didn't have music playing all through it, right? You're talking about like the introduction? If I recall correctly. Blood red. Otherwise known as Rojo Sanguina. The titles on this are all, I guess that's Spanish, like Italian. Is that Italian? That's Italian first and English second. Spanish? I'm not super great with languages. All right, red guy. I think this particular casting probably has the best detail on it, so I'd prefer not to totally screw this up. I've sort of screwed this up. I think I got too much paint on there. Arguably, I should have started with the back side to get some practice in. Yeah, that looks better at this point. Well, okay, I guess I evened that out. I guess, you know, all right, that's fine. Oh, damn it. He said, oh, yes, I haven't screwed that up. Yeah, all right, okay. There's my red bandolier. I think I've done worse. Not that that's super complicated, but I think that tracks. Velio's from Spain. Thank you, right? Spanish. That makes sense. Okay, so there's my color-coded Drallasite gang so far. So I think I still want to, I'm going to have some metallic elements. I want to make the guns and that kazoo now, I guess it's canonically the space kazoo. Kind of silvery. Maybe add one more element on top of that. I don't know, I have half a mind to paint the bases the same pop-out color. I don't know if you agree with that. I don't know if you disagree with that. terrible. All right, let's try a little silver touch. I assume I have that in the batch. I have gunmetal, I have polished gold. Would that be interesting? Would that be interesting to make the guns gold? Sometimes I kind of like things being like a brass, bronzy. Is that interesting? Because it would contrast with the gray Drallasite skin tone. I feel like I think I'm gonna do that. I think I'm gonna make the guns gold. So speak now or forever hold your peace on that choice. These guys all come with gold-plated guns. Thank you, Jonathan. Now I have somebody to blame if this doesn't work out. It's not my fault. It's the viewers. Ooh. And I guess if I'm doing this, then I'm also gonna try that toolkit on the back. My metallics. Okay, so I should start with, what did I start with, the blue guy? Alright, so I need quite a bit of this paint for good coverage. I suppose I might need a second coat. Yeah, that kind of pops to my eye. I don't mind that. Oh, jeez, I just brushed it off. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to go with this twice. Okay, and then this little element back here, same thing. I think that's a good choice because the silver was going to blend in a little bit too much. So just anything at all to get that to pop a little bit. And it kind of, it kind of feels kind of pulpy Buck Rogers-y to me, I think. We've got science fiction stuff, but it's mostly made out of brass. I kind of like that. I think that's a good choice. Okay, so now I have to give credit to Jonathan for a good supporting vote there. Now the laser gun was the part that didn't come out in the casting very well, so what you're seeing here was my attempt at like filing stuff down to kind of make it look okay. So this is, if that doesn't look good, it's not the original sculptor. That's me. Oh yeah, at some point, right, at some point I should take that mold and I should try to cut a second drain hole into the top of the laser pistol. And then, again, next week we'll be back in the kitchen casting, hopefully. And then next week I can try that and see if that would have helped. I kind of like that. I kind of like how that contrasts nicely. That's, you know what, I didn't think about that before just this second, but I kind of like this contrast. I think last week I had on camera, I had my my Sadar bad guy spaceships, and I did this. I also used kind of gold brassy stuff for them. It's like a green undercoat and brassy on top, and it came out looking really nice. Getting this to stick is non-trivial. That's something. You know what? I think that element on the back is a little recording device. So whenever the Drallasite has another idea for his next stand-up set, right? He whips that out and he records. He records the new joke. Humans hold their laser pistols like this, but Yazirians do it like this. You know what I'm talking about. This guy gets it. What about the service and the cryogenic sleep ships these days, huh? Has anybody seen this? What's going on? That's neat. I like that. That catches your eye. We are the gold-plated laser Dralasite mafia. And we've come for your intellectual property. That's not bad. I think I gotta go back around with a second coat. I don't know if I've had enough time for that to dry. I guess probably not. Now, don't forget, Paul and I will be back. I guess while I let this dry a little bit, Paul and I will be back next Sunday with another episode of Wandering DMs, right? Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And so you might be tracking. It is Sunday's the 17th. That just happens to be St. Patrick's Day. So we're going to do an episode on Irish mythology, Irish Celtic mythology in D&D, and places where that pops in and ways that you can use it in your games. So some people we know use that in their games quite heavily, and I know at least one of the top level spells comes from Irish mythology, so I'll be thinking about that. So please pour yourself a green beverage and join us on Sunday at 1 p.m. And again, if you're not already a patron of the Wandering DMs, we just have wonderful people who are patrons of the channel. And you can check us, if you want to join them, you can go to patreon.com/wanderingdms. Every single tier gets you access to our Discord server where the conversation's going on all the time about miniatures and ideas for miniature painting and things like that, and D&D and science fiction, horror shows, war games, old school D&D, 5th edition, all kinds of stuff like that. And we would love to see you there if you haven't been there before. Good heavens indeed. Good heavens indeed, Jonathan. Literally. All right, I'm gonna do a second coat here. Hopefully this isn't too early. Okay, what did I do? Right, blue to begin with, right? Okay, just trying to get better coverage with that metallic gold color, which is slightly harder to get stuck on the other paint than other stuff, I think. Okay. And then the green guy. I like this. Kind of makes this is a statement laser pistol, is what it is. I think I'm down with that. Go. Yeah, that's much better coverage like that. This one I had a real hard time with. Cool, I like that. I don't know how you guys, obviously after the stream, I clean up. I got to clean my brushes and stuff. So I don't know how you guys clean your brushes, but when I took my art course in college, the professor was like really adamant about the need to clean up stuff properly. So he had this whole process of like water and soap and again, and if there's a little bit of soap on at the end, that's okay. It's kind of a sealant. Like a really intricate process. you know, that coming up with that gold tone really makes me happy. That was nice. Now I think the last thing I want is like a knob on the toolkit on the back that I kind of want to just put like a light on. I might just make them all red, maybe. It's funny with the malformed laser pistol; they're all just a little bit different, so they kind of have their own character to them. Which I don't mind. Well, you know, okay, so I think that might be where I'm going to end it for tonight. So I think I want to put like a little bit of a light detail on that tool, but I don't want to be too aggressive about sticking something on this gold paint before it dries, because I think the metallics, the shiny metallics, I think take longer to dry, so I might possibly screw that up. Yeah, the laser pistol element was the part in the mold that wasn't getting metal into it. So while I was doing it, I was taking an X-Acto knife and cutting more and cutting more and cutting more. And then the casts actually, now they come out as kind of a blob. And then I manually take a file and try to file it down into something that looks arguably laser pistol-y. So these are all wind up accidentally being custom jobs. Okay, so that legitimately is actually kind of a happy little accident. I will accept that. I don't mind they're a little bit different due to that casting problem. So yeah, so probably afterwards I'll probably dab a little bit of little highlight on the toolkit on the back. But these are nice. I like this. I think they kind of have character. They kind of catch your eye. I like it. Yeah, you know, they could, yeah, if I filed it, I tried to make them pointy to make it look like that. You know, they could be a grenade, they could be a radio, they could be, I don't know, a trigger for your kaboomite. So I'm trying to communicate their laser pistols, and I may or may not have succeeded super well at that. So I'm going to wrap up in a couple minutes, and thank you guys so much for hanging out tonight and bearing with me with my rush job. So now I've got 2 molds here, which wasn't the plan tonight, right? And that was the planned one with Yazirian Part 2, and this is the new one with Vrusk Part 1. So we'll come back. We'll plan to come back next Thursday and try to get the Yazirian out and try to cast that, see how well that worked. You know, with my new pore hole implement. So trying to, you know, what I would love is to actually get a cast the first time. So historically, it never works the first time, and I have to X-Acto knife and open up the hole a little bit more. So what would be great is if I could actually get the pour the first time and not fiddle with it quite so much. If anything, then the problem might be that the pore hole might be too big, and I might have an overly large connecting point that I have to undo or file down or something like that. But I would love to actually get a cast the very first time would be great. And then I guess we'll have to wait for Vrusk Part 2, I guess. But the Dralasites are basically done. I think I can put those on my table for my game and be pretty happy with those. I think they read pretty well. But there's all the other stuff. I need the monkey Yazirians. I need the insectoid Vrusk. I need some humans at some point. I haven't made any humans. And then, you know, I really need the Sathar bad guys if I'm going to have them in the game. So I got a whole lot more to go. So again, thank you for joining in and the advice when I need it. And be on the lookout for emergency services as I dance perilously close to injuring myself. from moment to moment. And makes it a lot more fun when you guys are in the chat. So thanks so much for that. So again, join me and Paul for more Wandering DMs D&D talk show this Sunday 1 p.m. Eastern time for our St. Patrick's Day Irish mythology episode, which I'm looking forward to myself. You know, I have a little bit of a warm spot myself for my ancestral homeland in some way. So we'll have stuff to say about that. And again, check us out on patreon.com/wanderingdms if you have any interest. And we'll continue talking on the Discord server with everybody who's there. And I'll look forward to the conversation there. And hope you have a good end of your week. And we'll see you Sunday. And if not there, we'll be back next Thursday night for more of Dan's Old Time Mini Show. Take care, everybody.